Yeah, I mean, supposedly, the Shriners were started by a Muslim from Morocco, and the Rosicrucians were started by a Muslim from Morocco. Not the same guy, but Morocco had it. It seems in my recent days of research that actually two like pseudo Masonic big fraternities were both founded by people from Morocco, and apparently the guy who founded the Thule Society, which became the Nazi Party, also was in Morocco. The guy who founded that party, which then later was given to Hitler and became the Nazi Party, that guy who founded that party learned supposedly his secret knowledge from a
From
Muslim. I think they call them Sunnis or something. So there's like three types of Muslims, but the most
yeah, but
mystical one that believes in
yeah,
Kabbalah or whatever, I think are called like the. No, it's not even Sunni. It's a fucking different word. I gotta find it.
but
But yeah,
they
so there's
learned
like
that.
three. Basically, the Thule
Yeah,
Society, the Rosicrucian Society, and the Shriners were all started in Morocco by Muslims and exported out of their um out of there. So like there is something odd going on in Morocco. I'll give you that.
Jesuits. Yeah, but I mean, it went. It actually came from the north and probably came from America back there, and then they're bringing it back again. I don't know. I mean, I it's just that it to claim, you know, like who was here first or who started it. It's whatever, but I think India learned a lot from the north, like earlier. But there's like root races, and we get into that.
It's called Sufism. So
Right.
There's Sunni Shia, which is like kind of like the two major types of Islam, and then there's Sufism, which supposedly people in the Shia side and Sunni side both have Sufist guys or whatever, and these guys, I guess, like I don't know, meditate to the point where they like dissociate from rational thought and they can talk to Allah or whatever. It's mysticism. Um, these guys, these Sufis. So I guess they've been in Morocco for fucking hundreds of years, or at least that's the claim, right? This all three of these like major pseudo Masonic guilds, Rosicrucianism, uh, the Shriners, and what was the third one I mentioned? They were all started by were started by a Sufi guy. Oh, in the Thule Society, all started by Sufis from Morocco, and then obviously exported to France for the Rosicrucians, Germany for the Thule Society, and
Yeah.
obviously like all across America for the Shrine. It's just really weird, bro. Like this Sufi
Yeah. Well,
thing, these Sufi guys, and you know what they call themselves? They themselves call themselves the perfect Illuminati. And they had established illuminated groups in Europe, supposedly back in the 1400s and 1300s. So way before this quote unquote Bavarian Illuminati existed, these Sufi guys who are known for starting Masonic orders had started multiple uh, groups that called themselves the Illuminati in the past, over the past
yeah, what
couple hundred years, past 500 years. So I don't know, dude. I think there's a major rabbit hole around Sufism and Islam that people kind of, I don't think they even ignore. I just don't think it's even
dude? It's
brought up at all, dude. I mean, I haven't heard this shit in these conspiracy theory circles once about Sufism and stuff, but I mean, dude, these are important Masonic organizations that run our shit, and they're all started by Sufis. Like, that's kind of
it's a
weird and sus, and weird
priest
that we
class.
have never heard about that in a conspiracy, quote unquote, a conspiracy circle. And I've never heard this shit before, and it's documented fact. Like, it's not even. It's not like
Yeah, I
I'm
used to
reading a
read.
conspiracy book.
Hey, have you ever heard of Idris Shah?
No.
Idris Shah wrote a book, and it's all about Sufism. And it's like, actually, it's one of the things I read it. It's like a book. It was like a good book, and Idris Shah. What the fuck is the name of the book though? But yeah, there's like the tales of the dervishes, because they're called like the dervishes, the whirling dervishes. And shit. I don't know if you
It's
never
just
heard
a
of them
They
before.
call themselves the perfect Illuminati and
it's
shit.
a
Like, I.
priest class. It's like Jews or Druids or just they're carrying on something that nobody, the whole society isn't on. So sorry, I'm a little busy.
I know what the whirling dervishes are. Issa,
Yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
like
interesting.
it's like mystical Islam. It's like it's where like that's why usually it's nothing like the Sunni Muslims are very strict to the Sunnah, and like the dervishes are kind of heretics to them. But the Shia Muslims, they got a bunch of weird practices. But the Sufis are fucking cool, man.
Yeah, they are. They're like more
So
based on direct
in my
experience.
ether studies,
That's
I
mysticism,
found
Geo.
What's up?
The Sufis have a word for ether, and they're one of the cultures that deals with ether.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Alchemy comes from the Muslims. Uh,
Yeah. No.
the big thing.
Yeah, well,
The Enlightenment period is supposedly
back
what
and
happened in
forth,
the
man.
supposedly in the Enlightenment period. This is the supposed Enlightenment is that the Protestants broke away from the Catholic Church, and so that now that they have these Protestant nations, people are allowed to go read whatever they want, and so they start reading these Muslim books that are essentially copies of the books from ancient Greece and ancient Egypt, and that's where the Enlightenment comes from. So this Enlightenment is supposedly come to us from the ancient world through the conduit of Islam. So like all this shit really shows that I think we need to pay a little more attention to Islam and learn a little more about it, and then have
That
this
came
whole
from,
thing like I don't know, dude. I
yeah, then
think,
that came from Ireland. So
and also they had Kabbalah before the Jews. Kabbalah is not originally a Jewish thing. It's actually a Muslim thing. The Jews learned it from the Muslims. So like it's just I don't know, bro. I think I've actually reached a pretty profitable rabbit hole, and I have not heard it once. I've not heard anyone once on any of this shit ever mention any of this shit, and it's all historically documented. It's not like I'm making something up. It's like right there they write about it, but nobody talks about it.
yeah, but like the Irish Church of Isa folks in the east coast of America, like in Florida. Um, so to say like who it originated from, you got to keep going, I guess. I don't the Muslim stuff, the East Indies Trading Company and Moroccan cons and whatnot. I don't know. So
Yeah, I would say this. Anyone interested in Islam, I would say look to Islam. It's the perfection of the religion. That's what it is. To me, anyway.
I mean, the more I look into it, I'm actually seeing it's the opposite. But I think that the influence that it has over history cannot be ignored. Being ignorant of it cannot be a thing you do, and then also simultaneously claim to be a truther. Also, I just found it kind of weird, bro, and like it kind of brings me back to John Wick, the newest John Wick or whatever. Like all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh, you've gone against the table." Who's like supposedly the Illuminati? You need to go talk to the guy who's above the table. And then he like wakes up and he's like in a desert in the Middle East, and some fucking Arab guy is there in a tent, and it's like, what? And the whole assassin thing. I don't know, dude. I honestly think there's a way bigger rabbit hole here, and the fact that nobody talks about it is a problem in a truther community. But I guess we do talk to a lot of idiots too, like just liar globers. So I mean, our time is wasted on that. But yeah, we should be finding these rabbit holes and getting to the bottom of them.
yeah, but what are these religions now? They're based on the story of son, son of the sun.
Issa, this Sufism thing seems pretty cool. I'd be down with this.
Oh yeah, no, it's actually interesting. Like they believe, like, because like there's stories about like Like for instance, like the Sufis, some of them like will drink alcohol. You know what I mean? And the reason that they drink alcohol is because there's a story about the Sahaba, like the followers of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where they used to be able to drink, and they could drink wine. But then, like, once people saw like what being drunk has to do, what being drunk does to you, that's when they got rid of it. So you know what I mean? They got rid of all that when like they realized that it's just not worth it. But they're interesting because they look at it like they practice it.
Yeah, I knew. I've like came across Sufism many years ago, just in all my studies and within all the different how it links in with like, even though I guess like it's not like the Sufis like use psychedelics, because I guess they probably don't really. I don't know that they have that tradition, but the like states of consciousness that they access, like with the whirling dervishes and these other practices, like mimic in some ways the psychedelic, especially like the Sufi mystics. So like it had come across my kind of studies in terms of that, but I never like got into it, like dug into it deeper. But
Mysticism and shamanism are not very different. Actually, they're very similar. Actually, really, the only difference is that one uses like like a plant or an herb to essentially achieve the same thing. So
there's definitely a lot of overlap. Yeah.
You guys know Ram Dass's the book Be Here Now, the story. Are you familiar with that, Gio?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I've read it all, but I'm pretty familiar with Ram Dass. I've heard a lot of, over the years, little interviews and
Well,
snippets
he
from him.
gives Maharaji like 900 micrograms or something of LSD, like some absurd amount. Nothing happens to him. And Ram Dass's conclusion is you don't need to take a bus to Detroit when you're already in Detroit.
Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, it seems like LSD still has like the chemical, like the actual the biological effect of the alkaloids. So when those stories like I would be interesting to see like in a more scientific environment like, and then there's also a phenomenon that some people can like resist the effects of LSD like in certain cases, or like in that case if that guy's done a lot of meditation he might already be familiar with that kind of road of access. I mean, not that LSD is the same as meditation, but there's definitely overlap between them.
Well, if you're already vibrating way higher than that,
Yeah.
it wouldn't do anything to you. You don't need to take a bus to Detroit when you're already in Detroit.
Yeah, I always thought like I kind of like because I just always smoked pot. you know, like I kind of like liken that to like some Sufi esque kind of a thing, where like they permit that because alcohol is haram, but like nothing is said about weed, you know. But what they do really say in Islam is that they don't want any intoxicants. But kind of there's like a little gray area with pot because it's not like I mean I guess in some circles it's strictly forbidden, but you know, like you ever hear the
Part
stories
of
about what they did, like the
ancient
hashish,
culture in Afghanistan.
yeah, well, like the hashashin, whatever, where the term hash comes from, like and like there was like this one of the thing they would do. I forget the context. I'm trying to think of where I read this, but it's like they would get them all high. They would eat hash in like the desert, and then so
Yeah,
like whoever
showing
they
them.
would bring, they would bring them to like when they passed out, they would bring them to like the palace or wherever the fuck it was that the like if it, I forget what it was, who it was, but the
Like,
guy is in the desert and then wakes up after a big hashish trip in like a garden at like somebody's palace, and like so like they would like, and then they would give him more hash, they would go back to sleep, and then they'd take him back to the desert and they'd make them believe that it was a dream, and like and they would manipulate these fuckers that way,
no, that they
so
saw
like
they saw heaven. Yeah,
right, like what I mean, and then like even like there's some fucking
we
wild
talking
ones
about the
where
man on the mountain, the leader of the order of the Assassins.
I think that may have been, yeah. I forget
Well,
where I
yeah,
read that story.
yeah.
But
It's like they.
there's so many ill war stories from them, dude. Like shit. Like one dude was in the fucking hills, and the king is like this king's trying to kill him, and uh, and he's like this like living in the hills, wherever the fuck, and they come to get him, and the guy sends a messenger out, and he says like, I'll meet with your king face to face, but no other way, and so like he shows up and it's the king there, and the king comes with like two trusted assassins that are the king's guard. You know what I mean? And they roll up, and it's the king and his like, and there's two guards and this leader guy who lives in the mountains who's like causing a real problem for the king or this guy. And so they come and they have this meeting, and he sits down with the king and he's like, the king asks him something, and he goes, let me ask him, he goes, do you trust these men around you? Before he's like going to talk about what he's going to talk about. And the king goes, yes, I trust these men around me. They're like, da 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 da. And he like bigs up his his two men and how loyal they are. And the guy goes, at the wave of his hand, his fucking his main most trusted guards put their knives to the king's neck. And this motherfucker had infiltrated his guards to the point where he had the king in front of him with two of his own assassins who'd infiltrated his own army, who were the most trusted motherfuckers in this king's thing. And he's got the king captured. Like, dude, there's so many ill stories from these motherfuckers. It's crazy. That's why, like, even you think to yourself, like, they went in, like, Russia went into Afghanistan and got, fucking, tired and left. U.S. You're like not gonna go into these areas like where these people are, dude. Like it's crazy. It terrifies me to think like I don't even know, but it's cool stories
Yeah,
and like
that was the supposed they called him the king under the king in the mountain or the king under the mountain. He was the leader of the assassins. That's the same. That's the guy you're talking about. That's where the story comes from.
yeah. I think I forget. I read it a long time ago. It always impressed me though, and I always thought about that. And I always I love like the story of Umar. I don't know if you know the story of Umar. I think it's Umar, where he's like one of the people that wanted to like kill the prophet, and like and was like this big bad motherfucker for like the Persians, the people that like pagans that wanted to kill the prophet, and he comes to kill the prophet, and Muhammad's sitting underneath a tree, uh, just sitting there on the ground, and the guy comes up, Umar, and he says, "I'm looking for the messenger. Where da 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 da," and the prophet's just talking to him, and he's like, "Well, why?" And he starts like debating with the guy, and well, he says like, "I'm here. I'm going to kill him." And so, like, long story short goes is that the prophet is sitting there kind of talking with him about, like, why would you do that? And da 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 da. And then he comes to find out that he's been speaking to Muhammad, the man that he's come to kill. And that's where, like, I think that if I'm not mistaken, and then that's where he reverts, they say revert, but, converts to Islam. Because he realized, like, wait a minute, this man in so much control of all these people is here sitting underneath a tree with no protection. And he realized, like, this is crazy because this is like obviously in the context, it's like, like when you trust in God, it's like, you know what I mean? You could sit without protection kind of thing, you know. And that just, cool stories like that. Or even like this, it always upsets me when people get this impression of Islam as though like Islam teaches you that you're like only supposed to have a virgin wife, and you're supposed to fucking like, like war on anyone that goes against your whatever, like all this fucking bullshit. Whereas like, the like real Islam, like and I've told the story recently in here, but I'll tell it again. It's like I just love it. It's like, the prophet is his neighbor who's Jewish and every day throws trash in his yard, and fucking excuse me, like the messenger picks it up every day and picks up the trash without saying anything. And then one day the trash isn't there. And fucking, he goes over and he asks the lady, he says like, "Where's the trash? You know, where's your husband?" You know, because he obviously, you know, I know he hates me and he throws his trash on my yard every day. How come he didn't throw any trash on the yard? And she goes, "Oh, he's sick." And so he's like, "Ah, well, you know, blah blah." And turns out he goes in and he's the only person that's come to check on the guy, and he's the only person, you know, and the guy ends up, you know, becoming Muslim, whatever. But uh those are the stories of Islam. And like, you know, the story that like Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you know, he married a 40-year-old woman who was a tradeswoman in Mecca. You know, not like some 18-year-old untouched virgin. Da, da, da. You know what I mean? Like none of that. Like his wife was taught him like how to be a businessman. You know, he learned from a woman. Islam is the first religion to give women property rights. You know, Islam is dope, dude. But the people suck across the board. But Islam is awesome, dude. I really, you know what I mean? Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's just
I
dumb as
couldn't
fuck.
disagree.
God wants everyone to pray in the same direction 5 times a day for some
What?
reason. Like, what
Well,
the
yeah, no,
fuck kind
no.
of weird,
You got to
goofy shit
remember
is
this,
that?
man. Well,
Not
no, the shit.
not everyone in Islam.
Hold
Like
on.
the
Let me say
scholars
this.
and shit, they have like levels in Islam, and like the highest levels are not they are not expected to do any of that shit. Any of that shit you see the normal Muslims doing, there's like
Hold on one
essentially
second.
like six like main tiers or whatever, but like yeah, the top like three tiers don't have to do any of that shit. Like that's all
There's
for
no.
the
There's,
There
where do
being
you?
a
Oh, hold
hierarchy
on. Let me
where the
address.
elite Muslims don't have to do it doesn't make it better.
All right, y'all just making shit up now. Hold on one second. Yo, Islam says that prayer is for you. God doesn't need your prayers. Prayer is for you, so you can correct yourself. And if you don't, you know what I mean. And I'll tell you what, that's what it has over Christianity all fucking
What
day.
if I don't pray 5 times a day in the same direction? Then what?
That's for you. That's for. I mean, like a prayer is for
I'm
you.
still Muslim. I'm still Muslim.
Anyone who takes the
no,
shahada and
you
believes.
gotta do the 5 prayers a day if you're a normal Muslim, dude.
Anyone who takes the shahada and testifies.
Exactly. I don't know why you're trying to like talk your way out of this. It's weird.
No, I'm telling you
You're
what it
acting like
is.
a glober. You're acting
I'm,
like a glober right now.
no, I'm just telling you what it is. I'm inviting you to Islam. That's what I'm doing. But
I'm
what do you
straight,
call
bro. I'm straight.
it? Yeah, well, I mean, of course, like the you know that says the heathen put their fingers in their ears when they hear the word of Allah.
Yeah. I'm an infidel. I don't know
But
what to
that's all
tell you.
right. But yeah. But the point is, maybe everyone else isn't. So, like, you know, what I'm saying is, like, you know, prayer is for you. Like, you know, prayer is not for like the creator. It's like prayer is to correct your own self. You know what I mean? And prayer is for your benefit. And what you that's the thing Islam has that none of these other religions have is
Wait, the
the prayer.
Jews? No, that's incorrect. The Jews and Christians both
Yeah,
state
but
that
well,
God
I'm not
doesn't need anyone. You don't need your prayers.
right. Well, that's what I mean. But the Jews put like a book on their head to try to like keep God on their mind. Like they're ridiculous. The point is like Islam, like, and the prayer is so beautiful, dude. It's so
Yo,
awesome.
Gabe,
And
I think
so
Gabe
dope.
Breaker said he wants to get down with your Muslims.
I'm just saying, go check out the prayer. The prayer is just if you take part in it, it's just I don't know. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but I would argue that you're just praying to a
Have you heard
essentially a
Aramaic?
false god, a demon god. I mean, so that's where I would argue it's
Which
not
direction
beautiful.
am I even supposed to be pointing? Because it's different directions for flat Earth or the globe. Like on the globe, you're pointed in a fucking into outer space. Are they supposed
No,
to
you
be
don't.
praying down or like what's
Nah,
up?
yeah. Actually, both of those work on the globe or the flat Earth, but you haven't figured that out yet. What's up? We got to go
Well,
back to flat Earth discussion. What is this?
no,
What is going
the
on,
globe.
Jeremy?
But yeah, so if you're always supposed to face east, right?
Muslim praying west.
Well,
Yeah,
depending
whatever
where
the
you are,
direction is, it's pointing
depending where
towards
you
outer
are,
space on a
also like
globe. Whereas
also the
flat Earth, you'd be
okay.
actually pointed in the right direction.
Jeremy would like to know how
You
Coriolis
don't
is going to
understand?
affect his praying direction.
This is
Exactly.
prayers
Coriolis.
being like pseudo forced to a different direction. I want to. Is that I'm talking to Issa, right? Um.
Yeah, what up?
Okay. I would like to ask you though. You're not a actual Muslim though, right? You're like just like a normal American dude, essentially that just likes like Islam or the idea of Islam. If
Issa's
I'm
over
correct.
there eating a Issa's over there eating a hot salami bacon sandwich right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've kind of come into like a much more tamer version. But when I was like about 14, I took my shahada, and I was up in the mix with like hardcore Muslims for a long time. But I took Islam very seriously for a little while, or for like a while, and kind of toned it down as I got older.
In
Did you
America,
pray? Did you pray every day to
Yep,
Mecca?
right in New Jersey, bro.
you went to
Did you
mosque
pray?
in New Jersey.
Fucking cesspool. Jersey's a
Yep.
straight
But
cesspool.
I got another. Are you a white dude, Issa, or are you Arab? You
No, I'm white,
sound
dude.
like a white dude.
He's like Ali G.
Yeah, I'm a white dude.
Ali G. Ali G is not Muslim though. Ali G is just QOP.
Were you so devoted that you prayed every day to Mecca?
Yep.
5 times you had no direction. You were praying 5 times a day.
Yep.
Damn,
how
that's crazy.
how many years were you a Muslim for?
I'm still a Muslim, but I mean, I just as like being like all about it. I don't know. I don't know, man. Probably like fucking
What what kind of what type of Muslim are you?
Sunni.
Okay. I'm actually deep diving into Islam kind of nowadays. Do
Oh, there you go. You
Do
get a
you
little
follow the
convert.
hadith? Do you what is your like, just quick take on the hadith? Like, do you follow those tenets?
Yeah, I mean, like it's like I mean, I don't like for instance, like there's a hadith about how to cut your nails. Like you do this finger first and that finger this way, and then and I don't do all that. But I'm just saying, like
Wow.
I'm aware of it.
What do you think about like
I
the
tell you how to
Quran
cut which
only, the whole like Quran only truther movement? What do you think of that? You know about that? Like the Quran only?
No, what's the Quran only? I don't know. You ever heard of Taqwa Core? It's kind of like a punk movement within the Muslim. There's like whatever, but no, I don't know the Quran only one.
Well, like I think like Cyrus and like Pumpkin, Pumpkin on here and Cyrus. I think they've talked about that.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten too deep into it with them though. But I don't know the all Quran concept.
I I I don't think
it's
I'd be wrong in saying this. I think the idea is that it's basically Quran only. Yeah, like no, like not the Hadith, but there may be more specifics to it. But yeah.
it's
What? What?
essentially no, not essentially, it literally is and essentially is sola scriptura, like the doctrine of sola scriptura from the Protestant Reformation applied to the Quran, essentially. That's all you need to know. And then they go around and say, "Oh, the reason why this injustice happened in the past because of this Muslim is because they weren't a real Muslim. They didn't have the real interpretation. I have the real interpretation." It's kind of like that's basically the movement. And it's
What?
full of Mason, and it's full of Masons, not to mention.
What's the Hadith? Basically, like the guide to the Quran. Like it tells you, like from the imams. Like, is it written by the imams telling you basically like what each passage means? Is that what the or whatever y'all said it was?
It's like a collection of scholars that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wrote down the mannerisms and like the practices of the prophet. And there's a couple different sources, and they kind of there's like strong hadith, whereas like like there's a lot of witnesses to the particular thing that the prophet may have done, and then there's like weak hadith that like are possibly what he did, but there's only one witness account. It's not verified in another scholar's thing. You know what I mean? So like the ones that are the kind of like accepted collection of the strong hadith are cited throughout all the different scholars of the hadith. The hadith being the practices of the prophet. So you have some practices
Yeah.
that are
Did he have
more
a hair?
accepted than others.
Okay. Did he have a harem of bitches? Is that pretty accepted?
Um, I don't know. I mean, he had wives. That's what you mean.
Yeah, I just was curious. You know how many? Do you have like 5 wives, 10 wives, 20 wives?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure you could probably find out, but I really don't know. Probably a lot of wives, probably. But they say like in Islam, like like 4 wives is the most, and they say like and there's another hadith that's like like I think it's hadith here, but there's a saying in Islam. It's like like oh, what is it? It's like having 2 wives is worse than having 1 wife, dude. Like what I mean? It's like you're better off with 1 wife. Like is generally the rule in Islam. They're not trying to like
Really?
have yeah, like it's like because 1 wife is enough of a headache. Is the point. So like if you've got four
What,
wives, it's just more of a fucker. Like they joke about it. But it's permitted, like in the sense that like if
what,
you're gonna travel and take a like you're gonna instead of having an affair with some fucking like hoe, the idea is that if you're gonna be with somebody new, then you marry them, and if you're gonna have kids with them, you take care of them, and you're responsible, and you know what I mean. You don't just have like a one night stand. Is the idea? That's what the purpose of it, I think, was.
yeah, I'm
To
sure
make sure that there's
none of them women
no
have
like mistress.
that.
Well, no, like mistress children that can't be brought into the fold because of whatever reason. Like the idea was like you'd want to keep everything above board, and but then good luck because your wives are going to be pissed off, potentially. So
What if you have a kid like outside of that? Is that a huge deal? Do they want to abort it?
no, I'd imagine they'd probably correct it with the marriage.
You know,
Be the
all
idea.
of them doing that shit though.
But I think like also there's a difference. Like again, there's a difference between the cultural people or the culture of people and like the religion of Islam. That's what I think. And like people like associate cultural fucking evil practices with their religion. And that's like someone, looking at like like a Baptist Christian church that like brings out the snakes. You know what I mean? Or being like, yo, dude, that's Christianity? You know what I mean? Like they're gonna think like, you're gonna fucking hold a snake and if it bites you, then Jesus isn't protecting you or something. Like that's what you're gonna do right now? Like that's Christianity? And it's like, no, that's not Christianity. You know what I mean? That's a cultural thing that's been put into Christianity by some fucking people that live in Appalachia or some shit. It's like, it's not necessarily Christianity. So there's a lot of that in Islam too, I think.
Were there a lot of Muslims around where you lived, like from? Were there like like Muslims, like from Iraq or whatever, overseas, Saudi Arabia,
No,
and there is a
I was around the black Muslims,
black.
like the,
Okay, would they
like
generally have 1 wife, 2 wives, just mostly just 1 wife?
1 wife, sometimes get two. I don't know. There's a bunch of, there's a bunch of brothers that are all kinds of ways about it. And like, the brothers that practice Islam, like, they're righteous dudes, man. Freaking, at least like, I found like, especially years ago, anyone into it was like a solid dude. Now it's kind of like a little bit of a cultural thing. Like you got like, people rock like a Philly beard. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but like, it's called a Philly beard and it's the Muslim beard. But these cats
Yeah,
aren't Muslim. They're hip hop. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's like this like crossover, but a lot of Muslims, like hardcore Muslims, are just solid people. At least the ones that I've had the
sure,
good
sure.
fortune of knowing. So like they're just regular people, man. But they're like also deep thinkers because think about it. You got to be somewhat into it, and you got to be willing to spend your time, practicing Islam in your own time when nobody's looking. If you're gonna pray and if you're gonna go to the masjid, I mean, it's good people, man.
Christianity is like, I guess, the only main religion that doesn't have like like scholars devoted to the book. Like in Jews or in Judaism, that's a huge thing, man. Kids spend like days like
Well,
transcribing scholars' works, and
they
and
have it.
in Islam you have the imams, right?
Well, there's a lot of Christian scholars too, man. Like even like
Yeah, but
colleges.
it's not part of the Christian culture in the sense that it's not.
Well, I don't know because any preacher or anyone of that ilk, usually like, or like a minister or something, they've gone through some semblance of training.
Oh, sure.
like, so that training. What's interesting, I think, and what's been kind of proposed is like, or some people have conspiratorially proposed, is like, that you learn as like a minister or something like that, more of these esoteric Christianity ideas. You know what I mean? Like more of the
Yeah.
esoteric side of thing. And I think like that's interesting. And you recognize like maybe they learn that it's like more allegory than I mean, I really don't know what they learn. I'm just saying like I feel as though like Christianity is such a rich religion in its own right. And it's very, very akin to Islam in a lot of ways. It's agreeable to Islam in a lot of ways. Also, in other ways, it's not. But I think like there are scholars in Christianity. Like I defend Christianity. I like Christianity a lot.
It makes a lot more sense to me if you look at everything as allegories, because I think that holds up over time better, because language changes, and I think it changes the meaning of it, especially like over 1,000 years or 3,000 years, 4,000 years. You try and dissect like each sentence, but instead like taking the message of the allegory, like I think that holds up over time, like almost forever.
Bro, find
Well,
some things quite
Christianity,
disturbing about
Christianity
Islam. I would like to personally bring up with you as a Muslim. These aren't really like, I don't know if these are proper critiques or whatever,
is one
but
of them
like,
Aisha. Is one of them Aisha?
no,
It's like I know that
it,
comes up quite a bit. Too.
no, it's more like,
Is this the long night of the prophet being like ridden or some shit like that off of that weird ass hadith? Because like there's a bunch of
no,
I've been checking some of the
I'm like
Christian critiques.
losing my train of thought because that is
Sorry.
that is nowhere where my mind was at all.
Yeah, I've
Um,
just heard all kinds of shit.
so it was he went into a cave and basically got a revelation, but the revelation was passed from Allah to him by Gabriel. Essentially, that's what you believe, right? Correct.
Yep.
Okay, but essentially, like he sometimes he would talk to some sort of like some like spirit that was like a demon, essentially a jinn or whatever, some moon god or goddess, I forget. And he couldn't, and sometimes that demon was able to deceive him and appear as Gabriel to him. So I just find that like to be like very concerning spiritually. Like a guy is deceived by a spirit. He's like, oh shit, if that wasn't
Well,
Gabriel, that kind of demon. Like, and
what's
then
the source on that?
there was like another one. I don't know. You're gonna have to recall this, but there's another one, bro, where like they're talking about what like the signs of a false prophet. I forget I forget what the signs were. But then later Muhammad is depicted as doing those signs. And it's like, wait, so like in the book they say this is like, but I forget what the signs were. I forgot, but I like both of these things when I heard them. I believe I heard them separately, but like as time has went on, those are kind of like two things, I guess not so formal, but more of a personal thing that I find kind of like, I don't know, sinister in a way.
I gotta be honest
Well,
with you,
like,
you kind of lost me.
well, hold on. I mean, the idea that like, because it's interesting, like, just 'cause I was kind of curious of where this was coming from, is like, because they're coming from Christian critiques, whereas like Islam holds that like the prophets of Allah are protected from the jinn and protected from being deceived by the jinn. And so Allah reveals what the jinn are up to, let's say, to the whatever prophet of the time. So like, those stories are considered like um not true in like classical Islam. But like you get like the theosophical Christian perspective, and they try to find this stuff. And I just don't it's not part of you know s- traditional Islam, from what I gather.
That's a pretty badass name, Jin, or like
Well,
evil spirits.
that's where you get the term jinn from, like gin rummy and all that shit. Like fucking, or the term comes from this term jinn. It's the demon of the fire. So like jinn is like fire when you drink it in your stomach, kind of thing. That's where the jinn. That's where the term comes from, actually.
Oh, that's cool. I just always thought it was much better than demon.
Yeah, like this is they're made of fire.
Oh, really? Oh, that's pretty dope.
Mm. But yeah, they're like your. Well, I don't know. They're like a race of being. Is the way that they're explained.
Yeah. Did they come from hell, or did they? What's their relationship with hell?
No, they're just that's how they exist. Is in this like fire. It's where they
But
exist.
they're evil. But is there
Not
a classic?
necessarily. Not
Not necessarily.
necessarily. Like I mean, it's just
Okay.
that it's like a race of creature that God created.
Oh, okay. But
That's why
they
I
all
was
have.
like, Islam talks about like the unseen, which I always think is so cool, especially in the idea of like I was thinking like the levels of like bandwidth, like frequency. And so, like, kind of the idea that, like, that's why I've always been fascinated with the term the here and now or the hereafter kind of a thing. Because, like, imagine, like, you're existing in the same space as, like, an infinite amount of other creatures, possibly in the same space, but occupying a different frequency. So, therefore, like, the unseen, the Lord of the worlds, as it's put in the Quran, the worlds are like to me. I just imagine like we're all like I'm on a frequency right now, and there are like take a piece of fiber optic cable, right? You can send like a million messages at the same time down one fiber optic cable that is like 7 microns across, all based off of the different intervals of frequency of light based on the bandwidth or you know uh the hertz or whatever it is. So like you can send all these different messages because they're not going to interfere because they're on different frequencies. And so that's how fiber optics work. And so like essentially imagine if the Lord of the worlds is in control of this race of being jinn, which exists in a world that we can't even see. That's why LSD and that shit's cool because it almost opens up this like portal into like, whoa. What the fuck? What we're looking at might not be everything. But I think Islam is so dope because at no point does it say that man is the creator. It's interesting. Like you're experiencing creation. And like what if, the only purpose for your creation was to be grateful? That's what Islam teaches. So it's not like you're a slave to Allah. It's a slave to understanding how awesome it is to just be grateful and how life rewards gratefulness. So it's not like you're a slave to Allah. It's a slave to understanding how awesome it is to just be grateful and how life rewards gratefulness. But then the negative, weird mindset is like, you're a slave, bro. It's like, no, you're what? I'm a slave to the hand that feeds me. What the fuck does that even mean? Oh, you're just a slave. No, you're not a slave. You're just grateful to the source of all your fucking happiness. You ungrateful, miserable piece of shit. That's how I feel. It's like fucking pray, motherfucker. Give thanks. You ungrateful fucking. That's where he gets my ire. But how cool of an idea that like you would just have to be grateful and then it's all good. All your sins are forgiven. Same thing with Christ, man. It's
But
cool.
but I can have it without religion.
What happened?
um, the experience of life, I'm not religious. That's you know.
No, but I think I think it's written on your heart, man. I think you know that there's one creator maybe. And that, when life gives you good things or whatever, you give thanks. And when life sucks, you know what I mean? You ask for help. I don't think it's about like necessarily utterance of any kind or whatever. It's a
Yeah,
seal.
that's the point. What I can't understand. Why? I personally, I don't need any kind of belief and called religion. Yeah.
Well, I look at it like this, brother. It's not like check it out, right? Like you don't need an iPhone to have friends, right?
Mhm.
You don't need an iPhone to like have friends, right? But you got to walk 10 fucking miles to go see your buddy. And like so it's not like about like you can't have friends, but like if I have an iPhone, then I can fucking call him up and talk to him all night long and be like, "Hey, did you see the fucking game?" And you know what I mean? Like it's just a means to an end of giving thanks. Like prayer is all that is to me. You don't need prayer. Or you know what I mean? Like you don't need like Islam, but it's a vehicle with which you can actually exercise all the attributes necessary to achieve that. You could also walk 10 miles to go see your buddy, but it's like, why not use the iPhone? That's how I feel about Islam. It's like once you, I don't know, if you can have the opportunity to experience the prayer, it's beautiful. I don't know. Some people don't like it. I don't know, but whatever.
Yeah, it's not an attack against you, but I can't
Oh yeah.
understand. Yeah, I see, I hear what you say, but for me in my life, it's I have my inner voice, my inner dialogue, but I don't need such thing as you know praying for help. But
Well,
hey,
I
yeah,
just,
do what
well,
you
I
love.
think there's never an atheist in the foxhole, man. Like there is no atheist in the foxhole. Like at some point, every one of us, I think, is going to pray. And, you're going to be brought low and it's going to make you pray. And I just think, like in Islam, it's like there's a way to do it. That's why I don't like I don't like when I go into a church and there's no standard uniformity of prayer. That's why I like the Lord's Prayer because it's like militant as fuck. And I love that it's in every church and I like when it's said in churches. But like it's not said in churches every Sunday. It's like, somebody who's like, we're going to pray for Cindy and we're going to hope her mechanic helps her car. And, and poor little, like, it's like, it's not fucking like Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, where you're like, yeah, motherfucker, like right on. Like, you know what I mean? It's like war for me. I love that shit. Like militant Islam, fucking awesome, dude. As a man, it's fucking righteous as fuck, dude. And but and like I just don't feel that when I go to like a church. That's why Islam is dope, bro. It's like fucking proper prayer. Like you feel something. The only thing, I don't know what to say. And it's not and I've been to black churches where it's like fucking, the music's going and it's like, oh, this is fucking like, the Lord is here. I've been there. But like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like that to me is too clapping of hands. Islam says it's the clapping of hands and the fucking whatever. Like the prayer in Islam is just different, man. It hits different, dude.
Yeah, that's the point. I can't understand. For me, it's a kind of subjugate. Is this right pronounced? Subjugate. Um,
Well, I mean, that's what I was saying about people when they say that, like, oh, they say, oh, you're a slave to Allah, right? Is that what you're
mhm,
talking about? Subjugation, right?
mhm.
So, like, it's like, it's not subjugation, man. It's actually just gratefulness. And it's like, it's gratefulness to the hand that feeds you. Like, so it's like, it's not slavery when it's like, was your mother like, like your slave master when she was giving you her milk from her breast? She's not your slave master. She's not whatever, but she's worthy of your honor and respect. You know what I mean? It's like saying, like, to say, like, you're a slave to your creator or to look at it exclusively in that way. Because we are slaves to a creator. I can make the argument, but like, it's like, is a baby a slave to their mother?
No, but that's not a good example. In my
I think it's a great
religion,
example. I think it's a great example. It says everything I'm trying to say. Is that like, was your mother like a slave master? Was she demanding that you pay attention to her? No, man. It's like it was an ebb and a flow of like everything righteous. The child's not a slave to the mother, and you're not a slave to the creator unless it's against your will. But what child rejects their mother except an ungrateful one?
Yeah, but these whole religious thing. It's an imaginary. It's for me. It's not real because I'm not a believer in any way. That's why I have no contact or can't understand from what you're talking about because I'm happy without. You know that's that's why I'm saying it's a bad example with the mother. Yeah, I mean, we all have a mother. Yeah, religious or not. Yeah, it's plays no role. But for me, um, I mean, Christianity, Islam, Torah. Yeah, it's a book. For me, it's there are written rules. Yeah, where where I have to live to. Under these rules. Yeah, why? Why? It's nothing else, or it's not different what the government is. The government told me what is allowed and what is forbidden. That's
Well, what I will say is like this is like what part of Islam is bad for you? You know what I mean? Like what's bad about Islam for you? Like what
The
it's good like
dietary
like
The
sometimes
guilt and the shame of
I will
thinking
not
you'll
say
never
it's
make it to
bad.
heaven?
well, isn't that in Christianity?
No.
It's not in Christianity.
In Christianity, we know we have assurance through Jesus Christ. In
It's in
Islam,
all
you're
these.
always working hard trying to figure out if you're
Right,
actually
but
going to
and
make
if
it.
you don't accept Jesus Christ, then you go to hell, right?
It's in all
Right.
these Abrahamic things. Yeah, yeah. They got this whole deal going on.
Yeah.
The,
Come on, bro.
this is pretty similar, Matthew.
But-
I mean, just the
Well, I
idea
mean, but
that
like,
Huh?
Jesus is your lawyer. Jesus is your lawyer. That's the difference.
No, in Christianity, we have assurance that we're saved and we will go to heaven. In Islam, you're never sure. You keep trying to work hard enough and hope it's good enough. So there's a vast difference between those two.
well, like it's like me arguing about like, well, didn't the Pope like sell places in heaven?
Yeah, he had no authority to do that. That's not true
Well,
Christianity.
who the fuck are you to say he doesn't have the authority to do that? He's the fucking
I, I,
Pope,
re-
right?
I read the Bible. I
Yeah,
think the
and
Bible's the authority, not me, not the Pope.
right. Well, I'm just saying, like, but that's the same, like me trying to cast out like what you're saying and just be like, well, the Pope said. I'm just saying, like, I mean, who knows, right? But like the way Islam looks at it is like, is the idea of like you live as like pray like what is it? Live as though you're gonna live for another 100 years, and pray as though you're gonna die today. That's how that is dealt with. Like in that sense of like,
No,
it's the idea
there's
that
nothing good
you're in
about
a yeah, right. It's good, right? Plan to live for 100 years and pray as though you're gonna die today. And like and I just think like that the impetus is put on like constant correction of your behavior, whereas like Christian, like what gets me about Christianity, I don't know if I go to a church if I'm shaking somebody's hand who had sex with their wife and didn't take a shower before they came to church. I don't know that, but I know in Islam there's fucking rules. You have to be clean in a certain way. You can't be gross. Like that's the difference to me is the cleanliness even. Like I don't know if you go to church, like you don't know if somebody took a shower or washed their face or washed their hands after they took a piss cuz well Jesus saved me, right? So it doesn't matter. Like in Islam it's like no 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 no. Constant fucking maintenance. That's something else I like about Islam. It's clean
yeah,
as
yeah,
fuck.
I too.
Clean.
I think we should all do like that.
Right, but a lot of Christian. But if you're saved by Jesus Christ, what's it matter if you wash your hands when you fuck? I mean, just saying, like, there's this weird. There's no rules about that in Christianity. There's no like, I'm just like, and that's why I like Islam personally. And I'm not trying to belittle Christianity. I love Christianity. I go to church, bro. You know what I mean? I'm in a rural fucking area. There's no masjid. I go to church. But like, my point is like that this I, it's something that gets to me it's not. It's like my spiritual fucking whatever
the,
isn't
the
brought to
the
the
whole
forefront of it.
discussion, yeah, about Islam or Christianity, yeah, um, leads to one point, yeah, yeah. Who who is right, yeah. All the other things, what's coming after, yeah, yeah, war, yeah. My religion is the best, you know. I can't understand it. Sorry, I can't understand it. I can't. Yeah, I mean,
Well, I mean, like
this
Islam
causes
is not like.
problems. Always causes problems.
Yeah, well, I think like also that's I think one of the tests of the creator. Even at times, I wonder because it's like, okay, here I am, a Muslim, and I'm going to talk with my Christian brother, who like I could argue about with and find the differences in our religion and argue and fight about, or I could fucking marvel in the similarities, and I could have manners, and I could actually be an example, like a good example of my faith instead of some argumentative whatever. Because Islam is not also trying to say to argue, like you're not supposed to proselytize Islam. Like like Islam specifically says there is no compulsion in religion. You cannot compel someone. Now politically and alternatively, like people do whatever, but in Islam, outside of cultural and fucking political realms, it's like there's no compulsion in religion. So like, and also like I mean, I don't know, I could speak, I like Islam. I don't know what to say. It's just a vehicle for like it's almost like a political vehicle to deal with morality in a society, which is a good thing because it's law and order, and I agree with law and order. So
Yeah, but you know, from my point of view, I need no book of rules for me to tell me what is right, what is wrong. You know, I don't need it. It's in me. Yeah, yeah. But if you have moral, yeah, yeah, I need no book for this. Yeah. To live with in my culture, with my people in the society. Yeah, not in war, not in rage. You know,
well,
that's
have you ever heard it said that man shall not live by bread alone?
yeah.
Yeah. So like this is intellectual, it's just intellectual
I have
uh
intellect too. Yeah. Without
yeah,
a
it's
book,
just
without rules, without religion. Yeah.
yeah, it's well, I mean, it's just like it's knowledge, and it's like almost like vehicles to discuss ideas. You know what I mean? Like it's vehicles to discuss history, to question history. It's like it provides like an array of problems, and also intrigue, and also like knowledge and wisdom. So like like the book of Proverbs is beautiful. It's like those are beautiful
Yeah,
things to meditate on.
I got you. Yeah, I got you. But from the historical point, yeah, especially Islam and Christianity, yeah, uh, they fight always each other. Yeah, they murdered him. Yeah, you know, where's the moral? Where is the intellect at this point? That's what I can't understand because yeah, all these religion have their leaders. They have their book and they have their religious leaders, right? Yeah, and the leaders um telling where the direction is, right? Yeah, this causes war, yeah, and violence and all these shit. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, have you seen like like have you ever seen football hooligans, dude? People fight over fucking soccer matches, dude.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like people are retarded. That's why they need religion. Is because religion ultimately should be like if I'm in like let's say if I'm gonna be like a good Muslim, you know what I mean, and I'm gonna interact like let's say me and Matthew were to meet up, And Matthew was, wants to tell me about how I need Jesus in my life, and I'm going to tell him, well, I think you're committing blasphemy by worshiping Jesus. You know, if we can't discuss that rationally and actually just like talk about the literature or talk about the whatever without getting emotional about it, then neither one of us is actually practicing our doctrine. Because we're supposed to like argue our case, like like in Islam, it says like bring people to Islam through debate and logic, and good argumentation. You know what I mean? Like argue well for Islam. Like there's like almost this practice, and Christianity has the same thing, but it also has like decorum and it has like manners. And so, like, you can't really go to war with someone on these ideological principles, especially in light of the fucking historical fact that you look at like areas like Jerusalem where all three religions existed for a long time peacefully. So, like,
Yeah,
this whole
peacefully
misnomer.
from.
Well, let me ask you a
Hmm,
question. Do you think fucking like Osama bin Laden is a genuine Muslim, or was he created by the CIA and Zbigniew Brzezinski?
I have no clue, honestly.
Okay, well, I would just proffer
For
this.
me, these guys are professional liars in every way.
Well, right, and you know what's crazy? Like when the Irgun bombed the Hotel David, right? The Irgun, the military wing of the, before Israel was created, there was the Irgun, right? And they blew up the King David, and they dressed up as fucking Muslims when they did it. So it's like all this propaganda and war, and the first, what is it? The first casualty of war is the truth. So, like, you have to look away from the political side of this and look to the doctrines. And once you look to the doctrines, you find like there's enough disagreeable content. But then there's also this backdrop of like, you know, have some honor and dignity in this. And there is no compulsion in religion. And if you stick to the moral compass, or even like the real religious compass, not like some fanatical, like, like, any fanatical version of either religion, like the normal people are going to be normal and they don't want problems because of some beliefs that they hold. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna fight you over flat Earth. You know what I mean? But if you're trying to put a fucking needle in my arm and tell me I got to get fired from my job, that's completely fucking different.
Issa, do you think like everybody needs religion, or is it kind of a take it or leave it thing in your view? Like, yeah, I guess just that. Like, is
Dude,
it a take
right
take it
now
or leave?
I am enamored with this, and a Geo, I want you to just observe this. Just like like Islam says, even the birds worship Allah, right? And notice this, bro. Just check this. Notice how many people say, "Yo, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll talk to you in a little bit. I'll da 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 da." Da." You're praising, like your heart, your body is praising God, and these motherfuckers don't even know it, bro. Like you're gonna hear even it's the correct pronunciation. Everyone says it. I'll talk to you in a little bit. I'll call you back later. Allah. They're saying Allah like a bird fucking sings, and they don't even know it, bro.
That's sloppy grammar. That's all that is.
I mean, to you, that's why it's kind of interesting. We were talking about earlier the Sufis, and like for all the hippies in here, the Sufis is the shit. Look up, I love like in the Sufis, they say like, 9 dervishes can sleep under one blanket, but one kingdom isn't good enough for two kings. And like, it just me, they're so like, they go low. When somebody goes high, you go low. When somebody goes low, you go high. Like it's fucking, they're brilliant, dude. Idris Shah. I've read the book actually. One of the earliest things I ever did was reading books and online, on my channel. And one of them was the Idris Shah. Yeah, Tales of the Dervishes. Fucking awesome book. Check. Did I go in and out right there? But my internet's all fucked.
Well, I do hear you, Issa, about the syllables in our language for sure, and these different phrases. Even, I mean, well, people say Jesus a lot. Like even people that are not into Christianity, say Jesus, Jesus Christ, and that is a very common, like that one's really embedded in our language, as well. But yeah, I guess just my kind of question was like, do you think it's like essential or needed, for every life? Like, does everybody have to be into it? Or is it kind of like a series of ideas and philosophies that one could apply, but is not required? Some people, would say that you have to, and the Christians would say you have to find Jesus and so on. But I just wondered what your take on it was in terms of that, like whether sort of like a fine wine that you could either, get into or not, or whether it's something that's like required. Because obviously some of these traditions say that, the afterlife depends on your faith or, your practice with it.
Well, I mean, I look at it like, no man can save his brother. You know what I mean? So it's like, I you know what I mean? I'm not trying to change anyone's. I mean, personally, like in my belief system, it's like I kind of hold this idea that yeah, everyone kind of needs, um, kind of an understanding of the oneness of the Creator. But I don't hold any. Who am I to say what the Creator deems to be acceptable? So it's like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even make that judgment call. But for me, I feel like the Tawheed, like, the oneness of Allah is like, that's the whole thing.
But is there like a creator that we have to match up to? Like, what if it's just like there's karma and there's reincarnation, and we're just the manifestations of ourselves, and we're going through a larger karmic journey of what's right and what's wrong, and then we really just judge ourselves? Like, I'm not trying to say you have to go by that worldview or anything, but what if what if there isn't like a God that we have to like either love or not love or like do things in relation to and have like a father? Like what? I mean, I'm not trying to deny anyone else's experience if they feel like that's
I'll
the
say
case.
this. I'll say this. I think like it's like imagine you wake up in like a mansion, right? And you get out of like bed and it's got the most beautiful bed, and you get out and you walk out and there's a pool, and the pool has a garden path that leads you over to a garden with a tree perfectly groomed, and and the lawn, the lawn is mowed, everything is just gorgeous. You can walk out to pasture and there's a horse waiting for you. You know what I mean? Like, and all this beautiful shit. It's like that's how I feel like we're just experiencing. Like when you wake up in that position, your first thought is, "Whoa, whose house is this?" Because you didn't make it. You know what I mean? To say that we're just, walking through the universe that we created of our own spiritual oneness, that we just a drop in the infinite, and then, all this. To me, it's just like I'm in like a fucking beautiful realm, and like I didn't make this. I don't know how any of it fucking works, really. I've got a beat on some of it though. Do you know what I mean? Like, and to say that I created it or just say like that to me is utter fucking blasphemy. To say that I am God is utter blasphemy to me. Because I think all that we're doing is experiencing the creation. We're just you know what I mean? Like, can't we just be happy with that? It's like stolen valor to come and say like, I am God. Oh God, just shut the fuck up. That's like stolen valor or some shit. It's worse. So like, all those notions to me of like that, like the idea that like I created this, I created the like I just don't accept that. I think that you could be grateful, and that gratefulness attracts more beautiful things to be grateful for. But I don't think that like we created this. I don't think any of that. I could see, and if that be the case, I don't think I would ever like, you know what I mean? I could entertain the idea on some psychedelic fucking whatever, but it just seems inauthentically true. Like, it just seems inauthentic. Therefore, I see it like
Well, but if in general what you're denoting there, versus like a God that is separate and so on and all the different components, if one of those is true and one of those is false, would you say eventually you'll find out which one is true and which one is false? Meaning,
I already think I know.
if you get to the end of the road and it's the God or whatever that, however you see that, or if you get to the end of the road and you're like, oh, I actually did create all this. I'm a manifestation of myself. I am, we're all one. God, I mean, if the God principle is like omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient,
I
and
got one
so
for you.
if it's omnipresent, it's everywhere, including in you and in everything. Well, I'm
Well, I
just
got
saying,
one.
if yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, here's what's interesting, right? If I live my life as though God created it, and I'm gonna remain grateful, and that I see it as though the Creator will judge me when I get there, and that He is distinct from me, right? Then I'm gonna live in honor, right? And He's may respect that from me. If I live the same way and I show up and it is actually me, then I can forgive myself, right? But if I get there and it's not me, do you know what I mean? Then I've committed blasphemy the whole while. And I think already I know, like any believer does, that there's a
Yes, belief,
creator.
and many
There's
ifs.
right. There's a creator, and we know there's a creator by the evidence of his creation. And that's where I say I feel like confidently I say that, but I mean I wouldn't like debate it, like if you will. You know what I mean? Like it's an intangible. It is a faith matter. But I feel as though there's no fucking. I feel like we are the creator created us, man.
Well,
We
like
didn't
in the
make this.
analogy where you woke up in this beautiful mansion, there's a pool and all of that. But that kind of sounds like a dream. And like when you sometimes you're in a dream and you don't know that you're in a dream and you don't know that your mind's creating it. You're just in it and you're like the world is amazing or it's challenging or whatever it is, and you feel totally like you're in this strange world, strange place, strange land kind of thing. But then when you wake up, you're like, oh, that was all in my own mind. I actually did create all that. I created it with my brain, or however we view what dreams are.
Well,
So
I think like the creator. I think, or I just think like that. The evidence, like the concept of the creditor and debtor, right, intrigues me. Because like, let's say you wake up in the mansion, or whatever, right? But you never meet the guy whose mansion it is, right? But just because you never meet the guy whose mansion it is doesn't mean that someone put the effort in to put together all that construction and all that work, and that there is a guy who owns the fucking place that you're not going to meet. Like, the creation itself, the mansion itself proves that there is somebody who put the effort in to create this for me to wake up in.
Ah, stop it, stop it, stop it. Man built such mansions, yeah? Not God.
Well, yeah, no, no, no. We're talking, well, like
Yeah.
in this allegory, the mansion is like Earth, and you being the bed that you're waking up in is coming from your mother's womb. Like the idea
Yeah,
that
but
you're waking up into a world that is so perfect that it's just like you're experiencing it. I think to say that you created or anything like that is to just be like, it's like being an ungrateful fucking shitbag.
yeah,
That's how I
it's an
feel.
idea.
That's how I feel. I can't help it. I don't know.
It's only an idea, yeah? And like you says, yeah, you guys creating your own metrics based on on a religion, Yeah, you believe it, yeah. But is there a proof of this? Really a proof? No, from my position, there's no proof. Yeah? We talk. You're talking about creation. Yeah, I say also. Yeah, it's creation. Yeah, but who created it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. What God? Yeah, I mean, the now we are circling back. Yeah, to this. Yeah, Christianity versus Islam versus Torah, yeah. And all three religions claim, oh, my God is the real God, and they create everything. I mean, come on. And that's, and that this causes again problems, all yada yada yada, all that shit, you know.
Well, I'll tell you what,
And
I would, as evidenced by like society, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess it could go either way, but I'd rather live in a religious society than a society that has no religion.
I mean, there are many more religions. The capitalism religion, yeah. It's
Well,
always
I mean,
present. It's only based on the belief system, Yeah,
well, I'm just saying,
always
or
based
I'll
on
put it this way.
money. Yeah.
I'd rather live in a society that has the same moral code that I have. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's what I think. Like, religion is kind of a backdrop to that. I mean, that's why I think I've always kind of had this intrigue into the idea that cosmology, you know what I mean, affects philosophy. As just as much as like religion affects philosophy, and I think there's healthy philosophies and there's unhealthy philosophies, and I think like the monotheistic traditions provide a good backdrop for the kind of societies that we have. And what's cool is it is a part of our society. We live in an ecclesiastical system, so it's like it's interesting. And whether or not, even like, let's say it be out like in the ecclesiastical, studying the system, like the judicial system, for instance, like in studying that, it serves one well to be versed in the scripture, because the whole system is built upon the scripture. So like when you live in a society, let's say, that is so ecclesiastical, it behooves you to be familiar with the Bible and its ethics.
I have a question. Going along the same topic, a little bit of a left lane, kind of steering off the road. How does anyone know what God is, and why do people continue to say God is a man?
I think that just comes from the idea of like in French and in most like Latin and all that, there's like a masculine and a feminine um, version of terms. And it's kind of been settled that the masculine version is it kind of implies like a more authoritarian position. So I think that's why possibly in the language it's come down as such.
Okay, I don't know if I would agree with that, but there's a duality that is required: mother and father. Obviously, people know how sex works, but when it comes to the mother, the mother is the one that births the child. The father can't do that. So they say, "Oh, God is a man. He has a prostate and testicles, and uh, but no one's ever met God." I am not atheist. Again, I have to preface that. I'm also not religious. But when people are going to say that, well, all right, I'm going to say God is a tranny. Prove me wrong.
The thing is, though, it's like it's a matter of like the Bainal can only hear what is disturbing and only kind of discuss what is atrocious. So the point is to elevate ourselves so that we can see the more ethereal concepts that are being displayed versus being like trapped in a materialistic, you know, like what's the term?
That's going way off what I was trying to get at.
I was trying to get away from what you were getting at.
Oh, no problem. I'll go on silent then.
No, I'm just saying, like, I don't want to necessarily talk about like God's testicles. You know what I mean? Like, I
No,
just,
okay. I'm not going
I
on
don't know,
silent then.
like, where we're going there. You know what I mean? Like,
There's a
especially like if we're gonna,
differentiation
because like,
of men.
I'll ask you a question, and I'll take what you're saying seriously in the sense of like, do you think like Jesus is God and that he walked the earth with a pair of testicles? Like, I don't know. Like, do you believe that? Like, does anyone believe that?
Hey, mic check, mic check. Turn that shit off.
Sorry, I'm teaching an online course right now. Anyways, that was a little disturbance to me. But when people are going to say creation, which I agree with, there is another aspect to it. And that's because I don't believe in a creator. I just believe in creation. It's absolutely absurd.
Right, but hold on. It takes no faith to believe in creation because it's fucking right in front of you.
Oh,
Like
no,
the
I get
ideal,
that. Even
but like,
atheists will. I've debated with atheists about this, and they lose every single time. But when it comes to religion, they're different. Like the six major religions of the world will say, yeah, it's the creator, meaning singular. So if someone's going to say God is a man, where do we get that evidence from?
I mean, you might have to argue with a Christian about that. I don't know. I don't say that.
Oh, I have.
Hi,
I was raised Mormon and then Baptist after that. and everyone says, "Yeah, God's a man," but none of them have ever met God. I think God is an
Well, again, that
overused
gets back to
word.
our. Well, no, that gets back to our like our mansion parable. Was the idea that like, and that's what I find interesting, like in the creditor versus debtor paradigm, because in law, even a creditor never has to like a creditor can remain anonymous, which is interesting. So like, the creator can always be like, he never has to show himself. The evidence of the creator is the creation. And I think like I just like, as though some people want to whittle that further down into something. I think, the creation speaks for itself in regards to the creator. And I wouldn't, like I wouldn't fault anyone for their opinion about God, you know.
Yeah, I don't rip on anybody in regards to their religion or faith-based understanding. I don't do that. But what I hear a lot of people say is that God, singular, the creation. I just say creation. I don't say the God. I don't even know what God is. I know we're here. At least I think I am. I think you guys are there as well. But the philosophical argument of why are we here, who brought us here, or what brought us here? A
Well,
lot
that's
of
what I was
people are
kind of
going to.
getting to. I was
Cool.
getting
Go
to
ahead.
earlier.
Take the reins, man.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like the only reason for our existence, like, which is just an interesting idea, is to be grateful. Like in Islam, for instance, like there's the concept that the only thing you're supposed to, like, you were just literally put on earth to pray and to give thanks to the Creator. And like, you know, uh, I just think that that's like, like how could be anyone be mad about that? Like, or you know what I mean? Like, or how could even anyone be fanatical about that?
Well, because it sounds really,
You know what I
really
mean? Like,
weird.
I mean, people are weird, but like, I'm just like the idea that you could just be grateful, and like, and that's pretty much all that's being asked of you.
Yeah,
And
well,
then some people,
grateful, it doesn't mean blind obedience to something. That's different.
right? And like, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say like Muslims are blindly obedient either, because I don't think they are. Like, it's a logical conclusion that people come to Islam, like for myself anyway. But like, it's not just blind obedience. It's the idea of just, even again, it's like instead of complicating it, just like let us take a step back and simplify it, which is the idea that, each religion is just saying, be grateful, give
Yeah, but
thanks
but
to the
if,
Creator.
if there is no proof for any kind of God because it's a concept, yeah. Where's the logic? Yeah,
Right.
it's a
But if
definition, a
you
belief. It's an
if you
abstract
walked
concept. Yeah,
if you were walking in the woods and you came upon a cabin, would you, like, would you think that it was just nature made that cabin? Or would you think that somebody fucking came out there and made that cabin?
No, based on my experience, yeah, to recognize a pattern, this is not part of the nature, not natural. There's and yeah, a builder behind, yeah, a creator itself, yeah.
Right.
But
That's how I feel.
but hey, only based on experience and pattern recognition.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you look at a fucking blue jay, what do you think? Was it created?
You mean the disc or what?
I mean the bird, the fucking, like, when you see a bird, when you
Yeah.
see a butterfly, like, do you think to yourself like, wow, that's just a product of the Big Bang and evolution? I mean, I'm related to a butterfly now.
No,
Like, is
I'm
that what you
absolutely not.
fucking think? Like, you know what I mean? Because like, I look at a fucking blue
It's
jay, a
legit
fox, or
to ask the
I'm
question, yeah.
I'm just getting at. I
Where
don't know.
where comes the bird from? Yeah. Where comes the tree from? Yeah. Yeah. But this is it's only in our head to ask this question. Yeah. It's a logical process to find an answer. To find an answer. You know. Yeah, and yeah, I can't understand the religion side. Yeah, the only answer is someone somewhere built it. Yeah, creation. Yeah, yeah. In Islam and Christianity, yeah, the creator. Yeah, I agree with Andrew. Yeah, I call it the creation itself. Yeah, it's a logical implication, nothing more for me. But there is no answer for me because I was not there where the first bird are made. Yeah, if you will. Yeah, yeah. That's that's there will never be an answer for, never, never. But it's
Not to
not an.
interrupt the conversation, but I'm going to have a live view of Saturn here in just a couple minutes.
That's cool. Some Saturn. Uh, yeah, I mean, I don't. Sorry, I got kind of lost in the sauce. Um, but yeah, like, what was your? What was? I'm sorry, I may have missed the response of like when you look at like nature, or you look at like
Well,
a
why wouldn't
fucking.
you why wouldn't you consider that that bird was manifest on maybe a level of consciousness you're not currently aware of? You know, we're all.
Uh,
I mean, there's only one creator, one God, one whatever you call it. So there's not like 10 dudes hanging around. There's one. And if that one is potent, omnipresent, omniscient, all powerful, all knowledgeable, and all present everywhere, then it would be manifest on another level of your being that you may not be aware of.
I love. I mean, yeah, maybe. You
Well,
know.
is there any other way it can be? Unless you're permanently separate from a thing that you would call the God. If
Well, I
you're
would think.
permanently separate from it, I
I
guess.
don't, yeah. I mean, and I don't know about permanently separate either. But I think it's almost like recognizing, like, like it's like it's like a part in a car or something like that. Like each part of the car is its own part of the car, but it's still part of the, it's still a car. You know what I mean? When you look at it in total, I kind of, I mean, I get what you're saying with it. It's just intuitively, I have come away from those things. Like, you know
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
why
I've thought,
I use the analogy of a dream because you can be in a dream or like a lucid dream or just a really vivid dream where you can be in an entire world. You know, sometimes people have dreams that they're in a place where it's Earth-like. Sometimes they're not even Earth-like. Where dreams can be experienced like real physical reality. Like there's birds and dogs and animals, and people have dreams of being mauled by an animal or all kinds of wild stuff. Flying with an eagle. So like in the dream, that's, I mean, some people experience dreams like as real as the physical world. And in the dream, they might not, I mean, sometimes you don't even know you're dreaming or how you even got there or what's even going on that you're experiencing. But even from the physical world of how we analyze it, you wake up and you're like, oh, that all came from my brain.
well, then how
I
about this
actually,
then?
I actually did make
Then-
all that. I just
Well, what about this though?
tricked
What about
myself in
this?
the dream and forgot that I made it with my DMT in my pineal gland.
Right, right. But what if you're fucking up the sacred dance? Because the ritual has always been that, like, the one who's separate, even though, like, let's say you came from or whatever, but at this moment in time, you are separate and distinct. And it is your duty to make prayer and give thanks. So that when you come to the revelation that you were giving thanks and praise to yourself, it's even more enlightening. But like by trying to introduce this idea of the cosmic oneness and it's really just me and I don't have to fucking give a shit. Or or maybe I have to give a shit or whatever like that. Or maybe it's self-worship now. Like I just think like when you delve into it, you're kind of violating the code, which is the code that you are distinct. You're supposed to give thanks and like, recognize that there is a backdrop of that possibility. But in order for you to perform the function of the actual creation, it is your duty to pray to the creator. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got to stick to the code, which is the dance, which is the giving thanks.
If you want to. I mean, that's a
Right. I mean,
philosophy.
well, I'm just saying, right. But if you want to, maybe like get like, all right, I'm just saying, it's like because you're sticking to the code. Like the cosmic code is that like you are separate. You better be giving thanks. so that you could maybe even then appreciate the knowledge or the like the brevity and the realization that you're the oneness. But it's only through that subservience of being in the position of being willing to give thanks that you could ever come to that revelation in the first place. So if through your hubris you try to say, no, 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 I'm just the cosmic oneness and that is me and da 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 da, you've actually now given up the grace. You've taken yourself out of the dance, which is like, that's like why can't I think of the fucking term? Like limbo. What do they call that? The Catholics call it the fucking like that limbo, the state of limbo. What the fuck is that? Oh God, why can't I think of it?
Purgatory.
Thank you. You know what I mean? It's like a spiritual purgatory. Thank you so much. It's been on the tip of my tongue and I couldn't think of it. You know what I mean? Like by not taking part in the sacred dance and giving thanks when it was your duty to do so, you're X'd out of the glorious moment when you realize that it is just you. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel there's almost that. You know. But I just think that there is a distinct creator, ultimately. You know. Creation is the evidence of it to me. I don't know. I can't really argue that.
So I mean, if you don't do the type of thanks you're giving, you're just like getting X'd out of remembering who you are, basically. Remembering
Yeah,
the
like
nature of your
that's
being.
you're pushing yourself out of the dance to actually realize that you are the creator that one time. You know what I mean?
So you have to do all that for like a long time, and then, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think about.
Well, look at hey, is that what the ancients do?
Who knows?
They've been doing it forever. You know,
I guess it's all just a matter of perspective at the end of the day, like different experiences. And this is why I like discussing spirituality and all these things, but I don't have any like desire to like convert anyone into anything that I think, because I truly do think I do think we're all one, but we're all on a journey of our manifestation. And so I like somebody else is on their journey, and they, sort of like okay, I'm not saying I'm a father to a child. I'm not saying that. But when someone raises a child, there's there's that thing of just letting them be themselves. Now it's a little different with a child because you're also like a caretaker and stuff. But some people seem to assume that role of their religion or their spirituality, that they have to be caretakers of other people's religion or spirituality. They just like sometimes assume it, or they proselytize, or sometimes they force it, or or they just are compelling or convincing, or in some cases manipulating. So in a way, some people, it's like when they show up at your door and they're like, "Hey, have you heard of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?" It's sort of like they're kind of being like, "Hey, I'm your shepherd here. I'm your father. I need to tell you what to do. You're not doing the religion thing right, and I have your answers." It could be looked at that way. It's some kind of like, I'm an authority. I have the answers of whatever religion, and here they are. But that could play through in a lot of other ways too. So I truly just honor everyone's path and journey in their own way. Now, if I can hear something from someone else and it helps me, that's awesome. If I can reflect upon something to someone and it helps them, that's awesome too. And of course, I have certain like friendships and close relationships with people that throughout my life that there is a deeper component of that, where there is like a deeper exchange and reflection. And so anyways, I'm just saying I don't ever feel like I need to like convert or convince, or because I truly feel like everyone is on their own journey in that way. And I forget why I started on that. Oh, I guess just why did I start on that? Well, I guess I was
Well,
sort of
no,
like,
just you were making the case of like you have the opinion of like this, like I mean I was kind of cracking jokes or whatever about it, but you hold that a belief and you're not trying to processize it, which I agree to it. I agree also. I mean we're here in like kind of a debate setting discussing the idea. You know what I mean? Like I rarely go in on these subjects. I would think I don't recall going into it this too often with you guys, but like it's one of those things where I have my opinion about it, but I would never like maybe in a joking sense if I'm being honest, like I mean if I'm being polite, like outside of this Discord chat, like I'm pretty fucking vanilla about these topics with people, but in here, you know what I mean, I like to be honest about my opinions and talking about it, but
Yeah,
I
it's the
don't
same
think
with
it's
me in some ways. I mean, if I'm talking to people that are into the spirituality side of things,
right.
it'll come up. But I mean, to like other people that are not, it's not even a thing. Same with
No,
like
I
the
don't even bring it
flat
up
earth stuff.
anymore.
Right. It's
I
like,
have. I mean, I'm so thankful that I have all you nut jobs and nerds to hang out with, because it's like, I just don't have to talk about it with anyone else. Like I just don't even want to broach the topic at all or any of these interesting topics. I'm just like, I can't. Like I just have no, like, the amount of fucking years of like kind of conversational shit that all of us have been through together. Like, how do you walk somebody through any of that? You
yeah,
can't.
it's somebody who's never been involved in it. Like, all right, where do we
Right. You
start?
know
How
what I
much
mean?
time you got?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Have you ever heard of what's a false flag? You know what I mean? I can't even. I just can't. I can't talk to you right now. You know what I mean? Because they're like, "Did you see the game?"
Well, dude,
You're like,
when
"Oh
I
yeah."
went to that, I went to this. It was called Flat Camp. It was like a flat Earth camping little event this guy did several years ago. And
Nice.
dude, it was
Cool.
like being a kid in a candy store, dude. Like we were all hanging around on the bonfire, and it's just like you went up to anyone, like, "Yo, what are you into? What's up?" It's like,
Right,
dude, if
man.
you heard of
I
Project
fucking.
Bluebeam, like it was awesome.
I remember when I went to. We did FEMA camp. Fucking, like, when I went over there, I was like, the coolest fucking thing, because literally, like, nobody's talking about flat Earth. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's talking about all the other shit that they're into. It's like, you know what I mean? Just this nonstop, like, conspiracy fucking con kind of thing. Like, it was fucking awesome, man. I just, like, there was just so many. It was so fucking cool. It is always really cool to hang with flat earthers, but they're a little weird too. So whatever. But
It's a unique group, dude. Because I have
yeah.
other friends in groups, like the group in terms of like doing the plant medicine work with like ayahuasca and peyote. There's like that group, and then that I work with, and that's unique. And they're not all actually as open to flat Earth type stuff as one might think, and
Oh,
conspiracy.
hell no, bro. Hell no. I know exactly what you mean. I find that in, like, the hiking community. Like, you would think, like, hikers and, like, nature goers and shit like that would be more, but they're not. They're just, like, anti-Trump, lefty fucking nut jobs that are, like,
I mean, you
wearing.
would think. I mean, the thing is that like the shamanic worldview is a planar Earth. It's like you have the upper world, the middle
Yeah,
world.
but they're playing pretend. They're playing pretend
But
when they come out now, They're
And
playing
just a lot
pretend.
of people have all the globe programming is so deep, it's not even funny. So yeah, I mean, it's just deep.
Like,
I'm not saying they're all closed off to it. In fact, many of them are more open to it than some other groups of people, probably, and for sure. But just not, you can't necessarily just go to an ayahuasca ceremony and just be like, yeah, flat Earth, and they're not all gonna just be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
dude.
not how it
Some
works.
some will be. They'll be more open mind. And then I have my whole group with like the astrology group as well, like the archetypal astrology, and a lot of those folks are into a lot of spirituality as well. But even they are sort of different, in like not necessarily all open to flat Earth either, or not just flat Earth, but a lot of other areas of just the state of the world in terms of like the controllers and I guess you could call it conspiracy, but it's a lot more than that. Like I guess just truth discussions and so on. But um, how do we get here? I
yeah,
forget.
I know. What a cool. I mean, like, yo, like, how cool. I remember one time I got asked, like, what would you do if the internet went out and da 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 da? And I was like, you know what, man? I would be fucking okay with it, because I would know that there's all you motherfuckers out there somewhere in the world gonna be doing something good for humanity. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's, I really do believe that. Like, like, there's how, like, what an interesting set of people we are. Like, even though I was over at Gems and I was talking with them because they cracked me up. Uh, but, like, even as much as I disagree with those crackheads, it's like, I have more in common with those fucking crackheads than I do with most of the people, you know what I mean, around me. Merely because, we've all got Discord accounts. Think of, nobody knows what Discord is, dude. You know, like, nobody. I mean, maybe if you live in a city or something like that, but, like, nobody fucking knows this, like, little world of whatever that we're all discussing, and, like, how fortunate it is that we have this little arena. Like, it was funny. Somebody made a comment on a video on a song that I made a while back. With it's the flat Earth friends in my head. You know, like, in my crazy headphones. That's what it was. It's called my crazy headphones. Da 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 da. It's like, but like, having, no one knows what it's like having flat Earth friends in your head. Because you got your headphones on. Anyway, uh, Like, it's like, you got all these like flat earthers and like this wild like world that we have. That's like, it's almost like I was saying, we have more in common with the anti-flat earthers than we do with just normies. Because even the anti-flat earthers, they know all your arguments, but they're going to rebut them and be assholes about it. But they still know the argument. You know what I mean? Like they still know what you're going to try to say or the idea
Yeah.
you're proposing. Like, which is makes them have more in common with you than anyone else.
Dude, if
Which
I
is
was at a party, yeah, if I was at a party that was like maybe where I didn't know a lot of people, maybe I just came with one friend and it's like some, something like that, and then Zanuck was there, dude, I would probably
right,
be hanging out with Zanuck, fucking chilling, and
no doubt.
yeah, we'd be,
Right.
The
I
great
think
defender, the defender of the narrative.
yeah, probably just because he knows more of the territory of
exactly. He
stuff.
knows exactly, and I mean, exactly. He'd be sitting there like, "Fuck you! No way they went to the moon." And he'd be like, "Well, actually, if you look at the Apollo mission, da 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 da," you're like, "Fuck you!" It's just, these are great people.
Come on,
And we
let's do it. Let's do it.
should never, I should, like, never lose sight of that. Even like, because that's why I even go check for a lot of the Globers and shit. Is just because like Jem, man, Jem. I've known Jem for a while. I like Jem. And most of these other crackheads around him are just vile. But like, he's a good dude. I think like he's as much as I disagree with him and he calls me a racist and shit.
Jem was
I
mad at me last week.
right,
Oh my god.
but dude, like if you
Zanuck, I didn't even know you were in here. I actually just mentioned to you. You were the one that came to my mind. I had to scroll down and see that you were actually in here. Dude, you and I,
I just
we don't
lit up
even
a
live
little while
that
ago.
far from each other. We
I
don't
thought
even
you were
live
doing.
that far.
Are you close? Aren't you in like Menlo Park or something? Or
No, but I mean, I used to live up in the North Bay in Marin County
okay.
for many years, but I've moved further out from Marin County. But I mean, we're within a couple hours, I'm sure,
Yeah.
if you're in the Bay Area.
yo, if I ever come left coast, man, I'm gonna fucking hit you fags up and be like, yo, let's fucking hang out.
That'd be
Yeah.
sweet. Andrew's close by here too.
I thought you saw my name and started just like just cat calling me, but that's funny. No, no,
It's so true though.
this is an interesting bunch. It's probably more interesting, way more interesting than all the people you meet day to day from all walks of life and professions here. It's especially pretty interesting because people, man, everyone here, no matter if you're right or wrong, you're all a bunch of thinkers.
Right. I love that. And I, like I said, like even just like who else are you gonna be like, crack a joke like, like like oh, you're doing a David Weiss. Like who else is gonna get that joke? You know what I mean? Or like who else would even have any context to be like, oh, we got a new Mark Sargent over here. You know what I mean? Like nobody's
Yeah.
gonna pick up what you're putting down. Like
There's so
other
many
than these
people like
fucking
that. I know you mentioned a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Most people would just look at you in the face like, "What? What does that even mean?"
That's funny.
And it's so funny too because it's like I mean even like as much as I fucking hate going over to gems and shit. Like that humor about like trying to give it like even them trying to give it to us like cracks me up so much. I love it like insulting debates. Like I think it's just fucking hilarious. So it's just I mean what a great group of people. As much as we all might disagree. It's like we all have more in common with each other than, half the normies we know.
I think
That's
the insults like could be funny. Like if it was just known by the two parties, like, all right, we're gonna insult for it to be funny, but like don't take it seriously, because when people take it seriously, that's when it goes south. Because then they're like, no.
well, that's what makes. Hold on. That's what makes it kind of funnier.
That's what makes
It's
it
like
real for you because it's real, and
that's
people
what
are
makes it so
actually
funny.
getting
Because like,
offended. Their
oh,
egos
dude, when
become
somebody's
flared
getting
up.
offended, like yeah, like even like I gotta check myself. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting a little too offended. Like especially when I go over to hang out with the crackheads. I'm like, oh god, I gotta like just not give a shit. Like you're getting attacked at every angle. You know what I mean? All the whole time you're there. So it's like you gotta let everything slide. But I think like. I love it when yeah, that's so funny, dude. Like when somebody gets even more upset, it's just
Is
and
it
they're always
immoral though? Are insults immoral? That's
not
a
here, not
because
in
like you know
debate.
how like all right. So for example, like I know it's kind of a harsh
I mean,
example.
like it depends what kind of insult too, man. Like I always had the impression. My thing is this: you get 10 minutes of manners. You get 10 minutes of my manners, of where I'm gonna let you, you know what I mean, polite, blah 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 blah. But after that, like, you know, if you're still a dick, like you got to get it. Like there, you know what I mean. Like if you're not gonna be, like, also there's like decorum. Like there's certain, like I used to always say, I'm the original fucking snowflake. If I sense that you're just like a little bit gonna go down, like, you know, some perverted angle on something and take the conversation to some banal fucking sexual physical, if you're gonna do that, I fucking will destroy you. You know what I mean? Like that's how I used to be about it. And I just think, like, I don't like when I want to have a highfalutin fucking conversation. This is flat earth. Let's very serious. Yeah, I hate when, like, you know, it gets too, but I love getting a fucking argumentative about it. Or I don't know. But either way, it's like, you know, we can't lose sight of the fact that, like I said, we got more in common with each other. We might agree with.
Okay, so my computer for some reason wasn't recognizing the camera, so I'm just gonna have to point my phone at my camera to do this, unfortunately.
All right. I don't know if you can screen share or if you share your camera. I guess it's all right. It's just Discord limits it to 25, but I think there's only like 17 in here right now. So if it, yeah, it's just it'll cap it if it goes up to 25 if people join. But
That's cool. Saturn?
Well, when this is
Sweet.
done updating, I should be able to like do it where it's like a screen share, so that probably shouldn't limit it. I
all
don't
right,
think.
nice. Is that Saturn right there? That's cool.
Is
It
that?
is
Was that it?
Saturn. If I
The Grim Reaper?
Yep, that's Saturn
She's a light in the
currently.
sky.
Just a light in the sky. See, Zanuck, you couldn't say that to anyone out in the world. They would say, "What? What are you talking about? Light
I
in
know,
the
right?
sky?" They wouldn't even know what you mean.
So as you can see, it's pretty edge on right now. So the rings are really, really thin.
It's how you see. It's how you see things. It's your field.
I always like the one where they're like, and we know it's made of this because of this and that. And we're just, shut the fuck up. You know what fucking Saturn is made of.
If you want something really cool, this is
It's
Just how we see.
looking through
800.
the.
They claim it's 800 million miles. Do you really think you're looking at 800 million miles in that little camera?
Yeah,
Well, you know what's crazy too?
this
Think of
is
like the. Go on.
I was saying this is through the viewfinder. So this is just with my phone camera, looking at the actual light coming through the telescope.
Would you put your phone on the telescope, or you have an actual photo adapter that goes on the scope? That was actually pretty
Hey,
clear.
look at that.
800 million miles.
800 million.
Hey, can you zoom in? Zoom in. I want to see a close up.
That's so
Think about like they
insane.
say the circumference of the whole Earth. You know, they claim is like that roughly 25,000. 25,000, and this is 800 million.
It's unfathomable.
It really
Yeah.
is.
You can
Yeah,
also see
the
kind
moons
of
too.
a light. I don't think I'm picking up any of the moons.
You widen the field of view, you'll see them.
800 million fucking
I
miles
think
away, bud.
I think the exposure here is too low to see the moons. Because of how zoomed in I am, I could try to do like a longer exposure photo, see if I can capture anything, maybe like a 1 second picture.
Is that just like the P1000 on a tripod or something, or is that going through a telescope too?
That's my telescope.
It's got to be a telescope. You can't see Saturn with a P900.
It's big.
Like that. You can't see it that good with a P900.
You can't? I mean, I've seen these people zoom in on the moon and go like into individual craters and stuff. It's crazy how.
Oh, mine does even better than a P1000 or whatever P they have.
There's a 1100 now, the new one.
They keep coming out with them.
Yeah.
But I guess some of it's digital zoom too.
The new one does have some new, yeah, it's like a digital. There's like it's like an add-on zoom level that gives like an extra. I forget the numbers, but there's like a new feature on the 1100. I don't know. I haven't heard if anyone has has anyone gotten an 1100 yet and tested it out? I don't know that I've seen anyone talking about it.
My telescope's pretty weak.
I'm gonna check the
I can barely see the
my
spot.
astronomy app to see where the
I can see the moons though. I can see like
moons are. Okay. Oh, with my telescope, I get wonderful views of Jupiter. It's just a shame it's not out right now. And even when it's out, it's really low.
What I was going to say before, Issa, just while you're setting this up, Seafoam, it was kind of back on the whole like religion, spirituality, and we're sort of a little bit like touching on like the Abrahamic religions, and some of those sort of tenets and ideas, and the idea of sort of God, and then the afterlife and judgment, and the kingdom, and I've in these conversations with a lot of folks, even just in here and also other places in life, just understanding their perspective on what that means to them, and what that would mean to like get to the end of the road. Like, are you God, or are you separate from God and you're hanging out with them? And, you're just like, you're separate. And you and I have talked about that too, because I always kind of interesting to ask those kind of questions. But then, then there's like, the perspective like we were talking about, which in some of the Eastern traditions, there is that, perspective where, yeah, like where we're all one, and we're experiencing like a version of ourselves, and we like enlightenment would be waking up to knowing who you are on that higher level, and then there's still there could be the idea of like karma and even reincarnation, and so on. So like just pitting those two like very generalized perspectives against each other, Christians will often like very much like often disparage the more kind of like mystical concept that we're all one, and we're holographic fractal manifestations of our consciousness, and so on. So or however that is being described. So there's kind of a tension between those in a way, and so on. But what I was going to say kind of before is that like if one of those is true and one of those isn't true, then like from both of those two angles I just said, it's like if the Christian one is true, then the one of reincarnation and thinking that we're etc., that would have to be busted at some point, and then you would realize like, oh wow, there's judgment, there is the Christian God, and that would be the reality that would be at the end of the road basically. Whereas if the one that we're manifestations of ourselves, and we're infinite energy, and we ultimately are like the idea of like in the coming from the Vedas and the Vedic, like Atman and Brahman, where it's like Brahman is like the non-dual source of everything, which we all are ultimately, but then we are experiencing the Atman, like the separation, like you were saying before when you were kind of joking about it, but like being the drop of water separates from the ocean, and then you go back to the ocean. If that one's true, then getting to the end of the road will be whatever it is, like like waking up, or some kind of a realization, or like cleansing the doors of perception, that kind of concept, and so on, where you would then get to that conclusion. And I guess what I was trying to like lead to with all this, because it was kind of from before that I was going to say, that's why it was on my mind. I guess what I was going to say is that if it's in those two, like the one that is the sort of non-dual Vedic Atman Brahman kind of thing, then that would mean that like everyone is going to get there eventually. Like everyone will realize who they are, and that they are actually one and the same with all of creation, and that they are actually, their true nature is the omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, source of all creation, basically all being. And so the idea in my mind of like forcing someone to that really just isn't needed, because they are it, they are me, they are the source, and they're going, they are the manifestation of going through that process. So there would be no need to like convince them or compel them. Like there's nothing they really have to do other than just go through their own journey, whatever that is, but there's nothing like, there's no like, I mean, you could say there's requirements like, by like being a better person and like having better karma, there's the idea of like the wheel of life, like in the Buddhist traditions, like getting off the wheel. So perhaps they have their own work to do, you know, they have their own spiritual work, but there wouldn't really be a need for like someone else to like proselytize to them, because there isn't like a demand or anything they have to do, which I think why like in Buddhism and Hinduism there's not as much of that like converting, convincing stuff, whereas in the Islam and Christianity there does seem to be a lot of that, at least in some of the Islam traditions with all of those, you know, Sharia law and some of the different things, and then the Christianity, you know, you have to give yourself to Jesus. There's like certain requirements. So I guess that's it. It's kind of long-winded. It was the whole thing that, you know, was kind of in my mind from earlier. And yeah, I guess it was kind of like the idea of proselytizing and like, is that needed or not? And I guess I could see from the Christian perspective or even Islam, they would feel like maybe the need to proselytize because of how that worldview is with sort of the God, and you have to get right with God, and there's a relationship, and you know, you have to find that relationship, and that's the whole goal. Whereas if the goal on the other one is like reincarnation and discovering who you are and having experiences and so on, then the goal is really your own goal in a way. Like it's your own, you know, initiation of what you would want, how you want to live. There isn't really like a set of books or principles in that way, you know. Although there is in Vedic or Hindu, there you know, but in a general sense, there isn't like necessarily, you know, one prescription, you know, in that sense. So I'm done. It was long-winded. Sorry, it was from kind of before. It was on my mind, and I guess it would have been better said when we were in the heat of it earlier.
I was just gonna say that I took a 5-second picture. It's not focusing, of course, because why would the phone do what I want it to?